Good morning, coolest coast. It is time for coffee with Kristin and Tina. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Kristin and Tina. We're your hosts this morning. A reversed camera. This is Kristin Odell of KLO. I'm Tina Prigge of Vagabond Creative Studio. Thank you to Just Orthodontics for sponsoring us this morning. Kristin, my friend, so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Good morning. I'm taking this
Mm.
big old mug with me on the road this morning.
And you know what? That was the very first sip of coffee I had. Oftentimes I have some before we start. So, okay,
Maybe
so you're
mine
getting on
is
the road.
steaming. Do you see it?
I do.
Because I don't have my cover on. Isn't that fun?
And so you're going on the road and you'll go on the road without the cover as well?
I mean, in the car, yes, but I'll take the cover with me. So if I go somewhere, I don't spill it in somebody else's office.
Nice. Okay, so question. How many cups of coffee do you fit in your mug?
Well, I mean, I think this is probably just for perspective. I think this is probably, if you measured it with like actual cups, it's probably a 3-cup cup. What do you think? Like this has to be one. Like I'm like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think so because I used a coffee pod, right, to make coffee, and it has about this much coffee in it. So I feel like I definitely could do another one, but the bottom part is a little more squeezed than the top. So
Yes.
yeah, at least 2.5, probably 3. So when you hit the road, will it be full?
Oh yeah, I'll top it off. But I mean, I've already had 1 or 2 cups this morning, so I may not get through this one to be honest, but I'm definitely taking it with me.
Yeah, road support is important. Do you have to go far?
No, I'm all around Manitowoc today,
Nice.
but
Nice.
I'm just with clients. I get to go to drug court today in Manitowoc. Somebody from Lighthouse Recovery is graduating today, so I'm super excited to go over and participate in graduation. So
You know, we're fortunate to have that program, and I hear that it's having some success, so that's really, really positive.
yeah, it is having incredible success. The just like data and numbers behind the success of the program is really, really impressive. And I saw numbers from a couple of years ago. I haven't seen recent numbers, but the success rate is very high.
Nice. So, you know, speaking about being out and on the road, Kristin, you were out and on the road a little bit this past week, and you know, we see each other every week here virtually, which feels like I get to hang out with you, but then I get to see you sometimes for real, like out in the wild, in the real world. And it's so incredible, and I get so excited. But I want to put up this picture because not only did I see you in the wild, but look at you. You are having so much fun, and I love that you've got your Just Orthodontics mug, your Just Orthodontics bag. You're just living your best life in this picture.
Yeah, I mean, so this was last I feel like I've gotten to see you so much in person. I like feel blessed by that, but this was last Friday and Jason and I were supposed to be recording some new shorts at the office, but we both kind of had a poopy morning. I got there, you and Jenny Moffat from the Salvation Army were having a cup of tea on the patio. Yeah, patio. I call it patio.
Thanks, thanks. You elevate it. You elevate the stoop to a patio. I'm good with that.
On the patio. And I just love that, like, we all throw caution to the wind and we said, you know what? This time's more valuable just hanging out. And we sat there for like an hour
Yeah, it
and
was
talked.
so important and so valuable. And you know, we talk about self-care, right? I know you advocate for self-care, and like that was truly a moment of just like self-care and connection and sharing, and it was probably the most important thing we could have been doing.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll say just like the most awesome way for me. First of all, I was a little grumpy that morning. So I totally reset the rest of my day by hanging out with you guys. It was super fun. All of us, like, when I got there, you were like, "Oh, Jason just ran to the coffee shop." We all had a hot beverage. The weather was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I
It
feel like
was
we should have porch meetups more often.
I do too. It was a great and invigorating kind of restart to the day. The rest of the day was incredibly productive. Plus, there were those great memories, right? Those great connection points. I loved it.
It was so good. And I, like, have met Jenny before, but just an opportunity to sit and talk with her for an hour. I was so just wowed by, I'll just say, her lifestyle, her point of view, her Christian values. Like, just there's so much about her that is really cool, and I loved being able to get to know her better.
Yeah, she's super smart, really well traveled, just a good human being, and she speaks a number of languages, including Hungarian. Now, I shouldn't be telling her stories, but for me, I love linguistics too, and so I
Right.
just geek out talking with her about language and its intricacies and nuances and what you can say in one language but not in another. One thing I learned is that apparently the pantheon of cuss words that we have in English is minuscule compared to some other languages and all their nuances.
Ooh.
So she mentioned that, like in Russian, you can get books this thick of all the different variations of curses, right? But so the problem comes in when you are learning English from a language that has all of these different nuances of cusses. Not
Yes.
all of them are as extreme, right? So, like,
Right.
there's the stub your toe curse, there's the spilled your coffee curse, there's the crashed your car curse, right? Like,
Yeah.
those are kind of different levels. We might spit out one in all of those situations,
Right.
right? So, if you're a Hungarian kid and you're learning English and the translation says that one thing for each thing, well, you think it's socially acceptable to drop an F bomb when you stub your toe in polite company
Right.
when really, nope, nope, nope. So I never realized that before about
That
language. That's
is
kind of fun.
that is really interesting. It makes me curious about, so first of all, I'm not a linguist like you. I think my eyes might have glassed over a little bit.
Sorry.
But I do like, can you imagine speaking one of those languages where there is variety and color of swear words, and then you go to, like, I feel like English would be boring then.
Except, so for example, in Japan, their pantheon of words to talk about love, like if you want to, say some kind of endearment to your lover, your husband, your child, is really minuscule compared to what we have in English. So a lot of times in Japan, I've heard that they'll use English to express their feelings because there's just so much more depth.
Oh, that's nice. See, I'll take the love. I'll take the bigger love over the bigger swear words.
But so just know, if somebody is visiting from out of country and they drop a swear that you're thinking, "Whoa, that was an extreme choice," it might be because they don't realize the nuance.
That is too funny.
Okay, so all right, Kristen, one other cool thing you did for me when you stopped by is you hopped on the motorcycle.
Yeah, this was yesterday when we actually recorded the shorts. See, small business owners, we're flexible, but we do still get our work done. Yeah. So I texted that picture to Doug very
What
late last night. He was already sleeping. And I said, "How do I look?" So when he woke up this morning, that's what he woke up to on his phone. And the text back at 4:14 this morning was badass.
Yeah,
So he
totally.
home and he was like, "Where were you on a Harley? What were you doing?" Like, he wanted to know the whole thing. And I said, "I was on Tina's. I really don't want one. If you decide you want one, I'll ride with you here and there." But
Nice, nice. Did you say that he's taking the safety course?
he is taking the safety course. He's gonna get it done and see how it goes. He's just excited to try, because you get to actually ride motorcycles there and they teach you. And so he's excited to go through that and just see what it's like.
Right. If a person has any interest in riding, we did the safety course too. It totally changed my outlook and my perspective, gave me the right tools and things to be looking out for. Yeah, I think he'll appreciate it.
Well, and I think as like a newbie, so we're talking, he's taking it in Harbortown, Harley Davidson, right here in Manitowoc. And they're just been so like helpful and supportive for a newbie. So highly recommend. I know you guys had a good experience there.
Yeah, strongly recommend. I hope it grows great. I can't wait to hear the results and where you guys might go on a trip or something. That'd be
I'm
awesome.
not, I can tell you this definitively. I will not be a long mileage rider. Like that's not, if we go to like from here to Sheboygan, maybe, but I just don't, I will not be riding hundreds of miles to a destination.
Yeah, and one thing that doesn't appeal to me either is taking like the interstates or freeways or something like that with my bike, right? Like I don't want to be hanging on and like, I really like going, 60 is kind of where I would top out. And because I really want to enjoy like what's around, what's happening, the
Yeah.
world that I'm in. Um,
Do you ever get worried in the 60-mile-an-hour zones, probably 55, that like I feel like the chances for wild animals, turkeys, deer, things crossing the road is probably higher? Do you ever worry about that?
I was more intimate with a goose recently than I ever hoped or thought I would be. It luckily, Jason said something in my head, my earphone, and I braked just a little bit, and luckily I did because the goose literally, like, cleared my head by just a little bit, and, like, the underside of this goose just barely cleared my head. I was like, "Oh, oh my god." So, it's funny because in the class, they tell you, like, to be prepared to honk your horn if there's a dog in the road, and I was thinking, I never encountered dogs in the road, like, when I'm driving my car, but a motorcycle is totally different. The animals aren't as, cautious or something about it. So I've encountered turtles and dogs and geese and turkeys and cranes and, like, I was like, "Okay, this is why I took the safety class."
Yes. Yes. What's the most bizarre animal you've crossed paths with?
Nothing too bizarre. Oh, there was a fox as well.
Ooh, I think that would I always think I know some people don't like foxes, especially my chicken friends. They don't like the foxes because it's real that the fox gets in the hen house. That's a real thing. But I think they're always majestic when you see them.
Yeah. So that was maybe one of the coolest, and I think the turtle was a surprise.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, just to see a turtle crossing the road isn't something I see very often.
How long did it take for the turtle to cross the road?
Well, I thought it was a pothole. I don't know if I should go on with this story. So, I didn't realize it was a turtle. I thought it was a pothole, and so he flew to the other side of the road. So he got there much quicker than he would have been expecting. Yeah, it was awful.
I'm sorry to bring it up.
Let's talk about something cool. Hey, it's
Okay.
graduation season. So tell us who you are celebrating in this picture here.
So this is my sister Carrie, my little sister. A lot of people don't know this, but Carrie is 14 years younger than me. So when I was in middle school, my mom and dad had Carrie, and she graduated from Lakeland on Saturday with her master's in counseling.
What? That's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so we went down there to celebrate her graduation and go through the ceremony, which was amazing and quick. By the way, kudos to Lakeland on how they run the show there. 1 hour in and out. It was awesome.
Oh, wow.
But I'm super proud of her. She is interviewing now for middle school and high school, like school counselor positions. So she's gonna do awesome things with kiddos and hopefully in our community.
That's awesome. And a master's degree. That's brilliant. And that takes real commitment. How
Yeah.
long did that take her?
Well, I think just a couple of years. So she went to UWGB and she graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology. And then I think she took maybe just a semester off, maybe two, and then went transitioned to Lakeland to get her master's. Um, so she's been working hard at our local Quick Trip. Everybody loves Quick Trip, but I know she's really excited to kind of jump in her career and start working in what she's been going to school for.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. Good luck. I do have to say though, you guys don't look like sisters at all. Like I do.
So, and some people in my family that see Grace, so Grace is about as tall as I am now. I'm 5'7", and they're like, "Where does Grace get her height from?" So this is a good example. You can see my sister is 6 foot, and Doug's grandfather on his dad's side was over 6 foot. So we do have some height in our family, and yeah. So kudos, Carrie. Way to go, kiddo.
Yeah, way to go. Congratulations, Carrie.
So I
What
mentioned UWGB. You guys have something really exciting to talk about.
yeah.
Tell us
So
about your UWGB graduate.
graduation season. So this is our guy. So he's going to be graduating from high school. He's going to graduate from Lincoln High School in 2 weeks. But this past weekend. He graduated with his associate's degree from UW Green Bay. He's part of the Early College Rising Phoenix program. And I'm just so proud of him because he's like said no to doing things. He's like, nope, I've got schoolwork to do. Nope, I've got to write a paper. Nope, so for the last 2 years, he's been really focused and dedicated, did what it took. He's got like a 3.85 GPA, including all of those college classes. And so when he graduates now in 2 weeks from Lincoln, he'll have his high school degree and or he'll have his high school diploma and this associate's degree. And so he's ready to take on the world.
Man, you guys have so much to be proud of. That's so cool. So for people who don't oh, Tina's getting emotional. Okay, so if somebody's watching and they're not familiar with the Rising Phoenix program, can you tell them just a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, parents, if you especially if you have a kid that's coming up, pay attention and find out as much information as you can because it is something you have to apply for, and you have to do it during the sophomore year of school. So it exists with Lincoln, Mishicot High School, and Two Rivers High School. And what happens is you apply, you get accepted, and you matriculate into UWGB Manitowoc just like a regular student. And the high schools are really good about balancing that, working with it. They have an advisor that helps you pick the classes that also still coordinate with anything you still need at high school. So, for example, all of his classes are at UWGB and online. He had one class, he had a German class still at Lincoln.
Cool. So
So
he would go to Lincoln part of the time, and then he was on campus or online with UWGB.
yeah. So it really taught him too to be responsible with his schedule because it wasn't like a typical you have to show up and go to homeroom. He was excused from all of that kind of um, business, if you will.
Sure. Well, and just for most kids, like you show up at the high school in the morning and then you're there the rest of the day until the afternoon, right?
Right.
And so what a different experience for him to like, you've got to show up for these pockets of time, but then you need to be on campus these parts of the time. And, like what a cool experience for him.
Yeah. And it really, he mixed in then with older students. UWGB Manitowoc has non-traditional students,
Mhm.
and it really boosted his confidence too because, for example, there was a 35-year-old guy in his class that just had trouble with some of the technology, didn't quite understand how to format Word documents, for example, didn't quite know how to, manipulate some of the uh, back end technology that was required. So he just sat down with them, hung out with them, totally helped the guy come up to speed. You know what I mean? And like, so that now they're still like connected out in the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he just feels like, God, I helped this old guy, right?
Right. Old guy, 35.
From his perspective. Yeah.
What does that make us?
Oh my God.
No, but
Ancient.
how cool for Teak, like obviously he gets this from you guys, but like the willingness to like see somebody where they're at, offer support, take the patience and time to invest in that person. Like, what a cool experience for him. Like, way to go. What a good human you've raised.
Aw, thanks. Thanks. So now my call goes out to moms, right? Because I think in September I am going to be a basket case. Like I can hardly talk about it. I'm so happy. It's like what we've been working towards, right? But he is going to be leaving. It's going to completely change the dynamics of our house. I need tissues.
Oh, no.
No,
Oh,
so
you're
like in
good hand.
September we need to rally and like support all the moms that are sending their kids off.
Yeah, and I think the first, like in so many things in life, the first step is just saying out loud that it's going to be really hard, right? Like it's probably going to suck.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like that. And the good news is you're not alone in that experience, right? There's peer moms. If anybody's watching that wants to be Tina's emotional support person and message them through Coolest Coast, right? Like we
Right.
do need people that actually we recorded a video yesterday about grit and resilience. And one of the things that's in there is when you're in a hard spot, you need reach out to people that have experience with that thing, right?
Right, right, right. And so, moms, if you've already gone through this, right? Like if you've had kids that you've sent off to school already, how did you get through? What sort of, how did you bolster yourself? What did you say to yourself? What did you do? You know, and like I don't want to show too much emotion and have him second guess going away, or you know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't want him
Wait,
to
do high
change.
school students do that?
I don't know. I don't know. This is the first time that I'm doing any of this,
Oh.
so
Well, you're doing it with grace, and obviously you're doing it with humility. That's so cool. And again, let's find a champion for teen. I don't have this experience yet. I will be the one coming to you when my daughter in 5 years goes through this. Right? I will be the one
right.
coming to you being like, Tina, what do I do?
This will be a good learning experience. We should take notes. We can put
Yeah,
together a little
write a book.
primer book. Yeah.
There's got to be a
Yeah.
book out there. I'm sure people have written a book about this before.
Well, speaking of your daughters, tell us what is going on in this picture.
This is my Josie girl, and last Sunday, Mother's Day, she had her first horse riding show. This is kind of we rode horses during COVID. We might have talked about this back in the day when we were moms in lockdown. But she really was like the one kid out of all of them that just begged us to go back. And so in January, she went back to riding and had an opportunity to participate in our first show. And she just did so good. And like this smile that's on her face, that was like the smile throughout the day. It was just so the sweetest thing.
So, like, tell me, what does that mean? What does she have to do in a show?
Um, so I am not a horse show expert. Let me put that out there first. This is way out of my wheelhouse. However, there was like a world-known judge there watching them and giving them feedback. And they look at like their foot position, their body position, their hand positions, how much they interact with the horse, how happy the horse looks, how willing the horse is to oblige to what they're asking them to do, how quickly they make transitions. So, as an example, they might say, okay, you need to trot. You need to trot with a post. You need to do all these things. And they have to be able to show not only are they capable of performing those skills, but kind of being able to do it on command.
Oh, right,
So even
right.
like going from being in the saddle to standing to going back in the saddle, like how smoothly do they do it? Can they do it and look very smooth and natural, or is it clunky? So she did really well. I'm just super proud of her. She was so happy and so sweet there.
I love it. And I love that the horse's happiness is part of the consideration, right?
Oh yeah,
And speaking of happiness, that is what this photo is all about. Oh my god, I
I
love
know,
this photo.
isn't it? So we went before she rode. We went back by the silo that's where the horses were tied up, and this is her horse Pearl that she rode. Well, it's not her horse. We don't own a horse. I will never own a horse. Again, I know where my lanes of strengths are. Horse raising is not one of them. But we went back there and we took a bunch of pictures and Josie's like, "Can I give the horse a kiss?" And she was rubbing her nose and I'm like, "Yes." Like tell her she's going to do good. Tell her you're excited to ride with her, right? Because one of the things they talk about is the horse can feel how you feel. So if you feel joy and love, the horse is going to feel joy and love and they're going to be more ready to do what you want them to do. If you feel anxious or nervous or stiff, guess what the horse is going to do? Right? So she did this horse sometimes when she rides in practice will not trot for nothing. This kid has to kick her 10 times and she won't get going. And on Sunday, every time she said trot, she got up and went for her. So
Wow.
I
Good
think
job, Josie.
the love was worth it.
Hey, just circling back. So John wrote in and we're talking about, moms and kids going to college. He said, encourage them to come home from college to do laundry, etc. And then you can occasionally visit. Good tip, John.
Is this your brother?
That is my brother and
He's,
from Germany.
I
So
was
it's
gonna
got to
say,
be evening in Germany.
is it like 4 o'clock in Germany?
What's the time difference? Okay, John, tell us what time is it in Germany? And is
Um,
spring beautiful there? Is it nice now?
I was gonna say, so what I heard was bribe them to come home
Give me an example.
while doing their laundry, feeding them home cooked meals, right? Sleeping in their own bed.
Yeah.
Probably just doing their laundry is winning enough, but
Yeah,
they
and luckily he's going to UWGB, which is literally just up the road. So
right.
hopefully he'll be back often. Oh, and then regarding the German question, they are plus 7 hours.
Yep. So 3:55. There you go.
So John, tell us something from the future.
Oh, it's
And
like
then he said the weather is identical to Wisconsin in that part of Germany.
so that must mean like literally in the last week our trees have budded here. Like we have real leaves.
Yeah.
My daffodils finally open. We're closer to the lake. I know for some people that was a couple weeks ago, but yeah, my daffodils finally just opened this last week.
Oh, mine just finished. Actually, on Mother's Day, I went out. I was going to pick some and put them in a vase, and they were all just done. I was like, "Ooh, bummer."
They were sad.
They were
But it
sad.
is fun to see things kind of popping up and getting green again. When we were in Kentucky 2 weekends ago, the leaves, everything was full bloom down there. There were flowers all different types of flowers blooming. And, it was kind of like as we drove home, then things got more drab and brown. And we were like, oh, this is horrible to go back in time seasonally, So it's really nice to see just everything popping up green now. And like I said, all the leaves on the trees, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Kristen, a while back, you had shared this with me, and this is just becoming more and more poignant, right? So, this little graphic says, they're talking about birdhouses again. Time to send them birdhouse ads. So, on Mother's Day, for some reason, a discussion about coffins came up, and somebody was telling a story about like back in the day, there was somebody that at a party they would always bring a coffin, and it was like a big ha ha ha, right? And then we're talking about, what do you do with a coffin, and do you need a coffin? So there's a whole conversation about coffins just around the table. Well, then, like a few minutes later, when Jason gets his phone out, sure enough, there's like an ad for coffins. I was like, "What?" Like, that's just too random. And then yesterday, we were watching a movie, and there was this actor, and I swear to God, it was Stanley Tucci. And Jason's like, "No, that is not. That's somebody else." I'm like, "No, that is Stanley Tucci." And he's like, "Look, I'll show you." And he pulls up a picture of Stanley Tucci and the other guy, and I'm like, "Yeah, those are both Stanley Tucci." So obviously, I'm face blind, but but then before bed, I was scrolling through Facebook, and there was like some image, and it showed four different versions of Stanley Tucci. I was like, "What is happening?"
It is real. Here's another we actually talked about this at CrossFit yesterday morning. One of the ladies I work out with a couple days a week, she's awesome. It's Miss Sarah from the Flower Gallery. If any of you know Sarah Ristigan, she used to teach jazzercise. So every now and then, in the middle of our CrossFit workout, she will break into jazzercise moves, and we think it's great. Sometimes we participate, but she has said the word jazzercise. Guess what shows up for me in Facebook? Ads for the Manitowoc Jazzercise program. And I'm like, Sarah, my phone, which is like 20 feet away from you, can hear you talking about jazzercise. How funny is that?
I mean, it's funny and quirky and terrifying, right?
Correct. So, and I could also just say, I probably shouldn't say this because we're on Facebook, but if we didn't have Facebook, then maybe things wouldn't be listening. Like, that's the only place I personally get ads from.
You're right. You're right.
Hmm. Am I going to have Stanley? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci? Am I going to get that now in my?
Okay, so here's the litmus test. If you get any notifications about Stanley Tucci, Kristen, viewers, let us know in the chat. Let's see how deep this goes.
Right.
Because this is airing on Facebook, right? So we're literally saying Stanley Tucci on Facebook.
Correct. That's correct.
Stanley Tucci, if you're watching, do you get notified that we're talking about you ad nauseum?
Can somebody tag Stanley Tucci? Oh, I want to
To
know sometimes other people get ads for things that are highly inappropriate. I don't know. But if you have something funny that you've gotten a Facebook ad for, throw it in the comments and we'll talk about them next week. So
yeah.
I will pay attention to usually I just fire them through and then try to get to another personal connection again. But let's see. We'll see what pops up.
Nice. Well, this has been too fun. What a great start to a Wednesday. Kristen, thank you as always for the great conversation. Viewers, thank you for participating with us. We so appreciate you. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. It's my alarm going off. It is a beautiful sunny day, so get out there and enjoy the coolest coast.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
We'll see you
Cheers.
next time on Coffee with Kristen and Tina.